Sorry. Having a giggle, darn it. Sorry. It doesn't, it looks, am I live? It is. It looks like I'm not live, and I am. Sorry about that. So hello there. We've been having LinkedIn, trying to get LinkedIn involved, and that's me figuring out LinkedIn, but it goes live everywhere else. I've learned that now. You won't see that again. Me start as you watching me on my computer for 10 seconds. Alrighty then. Okay. How are we? What's going on? What's happening? Get your comments up. So I'm Carolyn J. Carpenter. Hello. And we're going to talk about training your brain today. And hopefully I'll demonstrate a little bit of brain train. Maybe I'll try. Make sure that you're getting the right thing here. So we are doing a kind of series right now. So enrollment recently ended into our program. So once we get people enrolled, we focus on training inside of our programs. And then here in Hollywood Gatekeepers and on YouTube and in LinkedIn someday, we do trainings just, to kind of make sure that those people, for people that are in our programs, are for everybody, for all. Trainings for all. Okay, yeah, it's working good. We want to make sure that we also provide value just in general all the time. So we have homeroom. Hey, Doug, what's up? We have, and then, so I said, hello. So you see at the top, it says streamyard.com/Facebook, I believe. If you want to see your name like this, there's Doug, yay. Then you have to click on that and put your name in there. Hi. Otherwise, that's what I see. So we are doing a series of trainings to really push you as a creative, because we know that you're creative or you wouldn't be here. So whether you're in our programs or not, as a creative person, you have this ability and this secret weapon, in my opinion, to use your creativity to future-proof your life in terms of your career. I really think that as, if you look around, things are moving online. So good, exactly. Things are moving online quite a bit. Obviously, people are getting more and more used to it, which is awesome, I think, because it provides so much opportunity, no matter where you live, to do whatever you want. You're super creative or you wouldn't be here right now. So we want to be able to provide some trainings that help you kind of think about what might you do with all that creativity that's just oozing out of you right now. Like what would you do with it? Dope. Oh, that was you. Should we leave that one up there? Makes me feel better. I don't know why. Because I'm just the queen of dope. So I say that on the regular. You're in Carolina. Nice. Love it. Facebook user. Tell me who you are in Carolina. I can't see it from my end. So love that you're here. I'm glad that you're here no matter where you are and that you're listening on your phone. And I love it that we have this new time in the mornings. We do support creative, absolutely. We're going to be doing this early in the mornings. I am a virtual life coach. I'm in a virtual life coach training program, and they moved when I get coached, so I moved when I coach. So it's like we're all coaching each other. And isn't that beautiful? Like that is the key to the world being a better place. And so speaking of that, that's why we're doing these trainings, so that as a creative person and as the world moves so digital and so much online, that we can kind of help you maneuver through that kind of scary for some people and, just new territory. It's all good. It's all fine. The final frontier. No, it's not final. And why did they call it that, right? It's not the final frontier. Maybe it is. I'm not a huge follower. So, but how can we train your brains to focus in? So last week we talked about just kind of the basics of if you want to start anything online, highly recommend it. There's so much room for you. I know it might not feel like it, but there really is. And there is, like, everyone has something unique, everyone. And there is something that you can do. It's about figuring out what that is, figuring out who might resonate with that thing, and just doing it. Like, how do you, the tactical part of doing it. So we're going to, cover the psychology of it, and we're going to cover the practical stuff of it, practicalities of how to actually make something happen. What a concept. So we're going to start today. So last time we talked a little more tactically. I mean, it was still a lot of, it was a little bit of thinking, but some practicality too. We just talked about how to kind of figure out if you want to start an online business and what might that mean. How do you use your reading skills, your writing skills, kind of start looking at that. But then we started thinking about, okay, as you explore that and as you start to decide what you want to do with your skills as a reader, writer, actor, director, whatever it might be, how can you train your brain to optimize what you want to do? And we always want to be optimizing so that you are always doing what we call high lifetime value activities. So you should be doing one of two things pretty much all the time. One, this that I feel is a very high lifetime value activity, meaning you will get value out of this, high value, we hope, for your life, help move your life forward in a great way. That's our intention, totally transparent intention, is that we really do want to kind of raise the bar of life. So that's a high lifetime value activity. You want to spend as much time as possible doing that or rest rejuvenation. Those are basically the two places that you want to try to be living. The rest is kind of gray gook. And it's a lot of, there are things that we have to do in our life that are like, whatever, laundry. I don't know. Depends on how you look at it. To me, I'm always like, depends on how you look at it. Sometimes it's a break to listen to a podcast. Domestic podcasting. So, but there are things in our life, if you want to focus on really strong lifetime, high value lifetime activities, what can you do to mitigate the things that pull you from that? And how can you mitigate those things so then you're doing more of that, or you're hanging out, having fun, relaxing, watching movies, going into nature, whatever floats your boat. So you want to be balancing those two things and have those two things be really primary in your life. And I really feel fortunate because I do feel like I have most of my life is doing pretty much I'm doing one of those two things. Some of the things that I do to build this business aren't, sometimes it feels like busy work, but I always know that the end result of that thing is this. And so sometimes it's all to that end. So when you're working on things that have this value to them in the end, they don't have that same weight. So we want to get you to start training your brain to really start thinking about these things. And so we have a handout. Ding. What's that say? Really? They are. When one door opens and another door closes, you're in a haunted house. Sorry. My haunt days. We have a handout that I think I will share. And then it is I want to make sure, it is where is it at? HollywoodGatekeepers.net/future-proof. And that's where this whole training will be. Last week's training is in there, and this week's training, right now, it just has a handout. After this video, it'll include the video as well. I told myself before I did this, make the videos shorter. Okay, so let me share it with you. So it is, hang on, let me just share my screen. I got this, no worries, we're on it. Let me sing a song. Here it is, I'll find it. There we go. Hollywood Gatekeepers, train your brain. You need to train your brain. So train your brain with Hollywood Gatekeepers. Ding. So we have these three brains, right? I love this. Oh, my spacing is off. Pardon me. Because when I turned it into PDF, I'll fix that. It's going to bug me, so we're going to do it. Never mind. Moving on. I'm just going to live with it. You were going to watch me fix it. Now I'm training my brain to not be a perfectionist and be fine. So we've got the triune brain theory, which is so fascinating to me. And that is that we have these three different brains. One is our little monkey brain, all cozy. He's cozy right there, or she. And then we've got our lizard brain, which this is a really royal lizard. And then we have our human brain, which incorporates the three brains. It's pretty great, right? You can see that, right? Tell me in the chat if you can't see it. Yeah, you can, because now I can see it. Okay, so you can find this handout, and it will be fixed soon, at futureproof, HollywoodGatekeepers.net. Thank you, Joy. Here, let me stick that up there. There we go. So we've got these three brains, basically. And I'm not a psychologist. I have a degree in drama. So I am not a professional doctor. I'm none of these things, but I have had a lot of therapy and I've done a lot of coaching, and now I'm a certified virtual coach. And so all of these things are things that we explore in great depth in my trainings. And so as I get trained as a coach, I share what I'm learning, and I really hope and think it will help. So we have our primal brain. It's sometimes called primal. Sometimes there's a lot of different ways that people refer to it. Instinctual. Actually, in our next slide, you'll see, that's not, on the next slide, so yeah. Wait a minute. I have too many slides up. Hold on. There. You can see that, right? Did it move? It didn't move. Hang on one second. Oh, it's this one. Okay, got it. Sorry. There we go. I have the handout up into a couple different tabs. So it's also called your autopilot brain. So your monkey brain and your autopilot brain go together. I loved how our lizard was all colorful, right? And then the emotion is the lizard brain or secondary brain. And then you've got logic, which is pink because it's girl power, because the brain is pink, sort of. So logic is, our human or our rational brain. And so these three brains work together to set up our life, right? And so, hang on, I want to make sure I see your comments in case you have any questions. There we go. But I have played a doctor on TV, that's true. Wait, I want that up. Okay, so you've got these three brains. And so your monkey brain or your autopilot brain, that's the thing that we do every day, and that's our habit, right? And so sometimes that brain can get in the way. All of these brains we need them to work together. And so most people aren't even aware of this, delineation of how we think. And most people don't even really think about their brain. So that's kind of one of our first questions, is moving through, like, really starting to know yourself. I think, hang on one sec. No, maybe not. Okay, sorry. So being able to write down and really explore these three brains and really starting to know yourself. The world is rapidly changing. Where will you fit in? And this is a really great way to explore and write and decide where you're going to fit into this. So when we think about these three brains, and boy, the PDF thing really messed up. It's like my one brain's going like, no. When you start to explore these brains, our habit brain or our monkey brain is the thing when you want to know, and I say this all the time, you want to know what you're committed to, what did you do today, and the day before that, and the day before that. And that kind of comes from, we're living in the cave, and if we survived today, then that means what we did today was good. We should do that again tomorrow. And so our little brain is like, oh, right, okay, we did that today. So even if the things that you are doing every day are bad for you and not really, really aren't helpful, the fact that you got through the day at all, your little brain's like, that was cool, let's do that again. So that's why it can be so hard to change and develop a habit, because it becomes on an identity level. And there's so many things that will work at habits on a do level, like just on I'm just going to do this every day, as opposed to an identity level where you go, I am a healthy person, and healthy person act like this. And so being able to start to train that monkey brain to identify yourself in a different way can really make it, make it stick, as opposed to when we're just trying to will ourselves into things that we don't really believe. So this is where really understanding your thoughts, those three brains, where your thoughts are coming from, it's so very important. And so it's why I think a lot of people, well, we talk about they do that. It's why I think a lot of people believe that, oh no, they do that. Other people do that. They make this, they have movies, because we don't identify ourselves on a primal level as that thing. And so this is the work. So it really is, yeah, like Doug says, it's designed to protect you from harm. It's a good thing. Healthy fear is also good. So, but if you can imagine, if you will, if you could get those habits to form that are good for you on that primal level, and that's the game changer. That's when life really starts to go in the direction that you want, is when you're able to really start training that level of thinking. So when you think about, your thoughts and you write them down, but you start listening to, so that you can really start to know yourself, because that is the key. Good, bad, ugly, it's all good. It doesn't matter. No judgment. Just start to really understand yourself. The more that you can do that, the further you can go. So if you start listening, so if you listen to like, what do people say about you? They have a whole branding training that where they say, you know, have as many people as possible just pick 3 words that describe you. Ask your friends and family and, you know, whatever people, you know, if you had to pick 3 words to describe me, what might they be? And when people do that, it gives you a sense of how you're presenting yourself to the world, how they're seeing you. And when you start to see the same words over and over, because, one of those words might be them, seeing you filter through the thoughts in their own head is going to reflect back on you some of their own things. But if you start to see the same words over and over again, then you know, okay, in general, I'm presenting myself in this way. And so that can really help you decide, okay, so maybe I need to go down that path, double down on that. Because if people see me like that, is that something I can run with and help people in some way with? So it's really, really interesting, right? Like Doug says, pick the good stuff from your smorgasbord of brain functions. It's a total buffet, and pick all the things. And you wouldn't say, oh, when you go to a buffet, this is such a good analogy, but when you go to a buffet and you go, oh, I'm going to pick that and that and that, you're not saying, ooh, that's, ugh. You're not judging everything else. You're choosing the things. Sometimes you might judge a few of those icky things for you, but it's like, in general, you're just picking from that, and you're like, this is the thing that I want. And you can do that in everything. So do that with your thoughts. So if you find what people are saying and you don't like what's coming back at you, you don't agree with what they're saying, then you need to look, as we talk about all the time, take a look at, why do you think people are seeing that? There's a few thoughts behind that. Is like, how are you presenting yourself that people are getting that impression of you? And then who are you surrounding yourself with? Are you surrounding yourself with people that are going to support you? So it is like really kind of looking at all of those things. And then what are the things, and we talked about this a little bit last time, but what are the things that people ask you to do all the time? What are the things that people are, oh, can you help me with this? Or can you give me advice on that? Or what are they telling you all the time? Does everybody tell you about their relationships? Like, do you find, I can't even tell you how many times, like, I've been in friendships where if it's a triangular, or like I'll talk to some person later and I will know so much more about the other person, because people have a tendency just to tell me their deepest, darkest things. And I don't know what that is. I've had that my whole life. As a child, people did that. And I think maybe because people know I'm a writer, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I know for sure when someone sees my writing work, when I have plays and films done, people come to talk to me afterwards, because I like absurd comedy, but it's very much about life. And so people will tell me I've had people tell me really deep stories about themselves in like the first 10 minutes of meeting them. And so I just know that that's a thing. So I just embrace it and go, this is an awesome thing that people trust me in some way to do that. So I'm running with it, and like, let's learn more about that. So, but if you find that it's things that you don't like or don't want to do, it's really starting to look at, what are you presenting? Who are the people that are around you? If people are always asking you to do a certain thing that you really don't like and don't want to do, what's going on there? Like, really look at it. Look at, what are you doing that's presenting that? Are people constantly asking you to move and you don't have a truck? Because usually people that get asked to move people is because they have a truck. But it's like, are you constantly do people take advantage of you? Are you constantly finding that you're doing, and like, you're like depleting yourself it's not reciprocal, it's not balanced? Like, these are things to really look at. So once you start to get a handle of knowing what those things are, then you can start to really, here's the question I was looking for. I knew I had them. You can really start looking at your 3 lists. Start to, as a writer, you have this amazing secret weapon. You can start writing it out, like writing out, and where are these things fitting? Writing out, what are you afraid of? And playing out what you're afraid of, really like diving into it. What is the worst case scenario that can happen? And we talk about this a lot, but most people use their imagination to imagine all the awful things that can happen. In general, that's what people do. How can you flip that? How can you get all that out? You can go ahead and do worst case scenario on the page and really map it out so that you can see what your worst, and especially if you've been through a worst case scenario, and I never want to go back there again. I hear that a lot. Well, you went back there and now you're here. So if you're here listening to this and you've had that, you got back to here, which means you can get back again. no matter what happened before. So it is like being able to understand that, embrace it, not judge it, and really starting to hear and listen to which brain is thinking right now. We have a tendency to think with our lizard brain that you made me do that because you made me mad. Well, really, that's your emotional brain just taking over. And really, all of your emotion is coming from a thought. So if you can get a handle on that logistical human brain to know that, oh, I'm actually feeling this because of a thought that I had. And that goes back to Brooke Castillo's model, which is so awesome, where she talks about all circumstances are neutral, which immediately sends people into, that's not true. But when you think about it, you can take one circumstance to one person, it means this, to another person, it means that. So a circumstance is neutral, and you have to look at every circumstance to think, would everyone in the entire world agree that this is a bad thing? So it's like circumstance, you get an email, that's a circumstance. You get a nasty email, you just changed it. That's not a circumstance anymore, that's an emotion. Or a thought, you're having that thought that it was a nasty email. It just was an email. What you put on it is the thought that you have about that thing. And then how you feel comes from that thought. We tend to ignore that thought. So what we want you to do here is start really listening, training your brain to start really understanding, oh, I'm just like knee-jerking right now. Oh, that's not even me, that's my mother. Like really starting to understand where your thoughts are coming from so that then you can choose and empower yourself. And so when you look, it's basically these 4 steps. And that's number 1, who speaks through you? Whose thoughts are not even yours? When you see them on the page, you'd be like, oh, hey there, teacher that traumatized me in 2nd grade. Nice to see you again. Hey there, bully from the playground. Like you'll start to see, if you start writing these thoughts out, you'll start to recognize that some of them aren't even you, and you have now ingested them and they've become who you are. So someone when you were a child told you that you're not good at that thing, and now you believe, I can't do math. And I did that for a long time. I can't do math. Turns out that I'm dyslexic with numbers and I flip them. But I didn't know that. I'm just bad at math. I'm really actually pretty good at math. So it got to be where if I could do it in my head, I'd be okay. It's like it was a visual issue. So, but someone early on told me that. And then wasn't until I was an adult that I discovered, oh, wait a minute. So it is like you can, and there's so many things that we unwittingly do to our children, and some people intentionally. Well, I don't think it's actually ever intentional, but some people, even people that are really trying not to, there's things that I always tell my son, like, oh, I'm sorry, that's me. Sorry. Now you have that. I gave that to you. You're welcome. Like I try to at least own, like, yeah, that's me. You just learned that from me, but I modeled that particular thing. So we do our best for sure. I think even terrible parents are doing their best, but can you weed through that and find the things that aren't you and find out who's speaking through you and learn to recognize it? And then really accepting it, accepting that you do these things, whatever, you're human, you're mammal, you're lizard, you're monkey, you're all that. So just accept it, embrace it, love it, move on. Everything that you're doing is building to the next version of yourself. Forgive yourself for any things that you've done that you're not proud of. They've helped you to become who you are right now. And even if you don't like who you are right now, then you're in the process of morphing. If you're here and watching this, you're in the process of morphing into who you're going to become. And it's all good. You've learned from that. You're learning from that. We're building on that. So it's all pushing you through. And so then if you can lean into, if you don't feel good about some of that stuff, you can lean into that emotion, allow it. It's okay. Like you can push through it. You can, it's amazing what we can handle. Amazing how resilient we are. It really astounds me all the time. And I get many lessons in this in my life that we are resilient, and how can we pull ourselves up when something happens that we weren't expecting? And how can we feel through that emotion and allow it to be? And because what that does is then it creates harmony. And again, and I will say this till I'm blue in the face. There was my mother. Say hello. I will say this all the time, that you are creative. You have a secret weapon. And the more that you can create harmony with all of this, the stronger you will be. And then when you go to do the tactical thing of how do I build a Facebook page, by understanding where you're coming from, anything you write becomes so much easier, because now you know what you're going to say, because you know where you're coming from, because you know who you are. So being able to really identify this on a base lizard monkey brain level, makes it so then when you move forward to write something, you're going to create more authentic characters. Then if you start looking at the psychology of your brain and the relationships and how people are taking advantage of you or not taking advantage of you, how people are supporting and loving you and how people aren't, if you really start really diving in how much that hurts and feels terrible and how great it feels, if you really start just diving into the muck and the caterpillar goo, then when you go to write, all that you can pull from. If you walk through life slogging through, oh, I did this today, I'm going to do it again tomorrow, want, want, want. If you're a want, want person, oh no, they do that. And this, if you go through life like that, when you go to write, that comes through. So really, really think about this. I really feel this on a base level. This is the secret. This is the thing. Like, it really is about it. The more you look, embrace, acknowledge, accept, feel, dig in, the more you do that, the better your life is, the more content you are, the more you live with either doing a high lifetime or rejuvenating. The more you can do that, the more authentic and creative you will become, the more your words will come out, the more people will follow you, the more you will connect. Hands down, abso-freaking-lutely. So that's what we have for this week. I'm super excited about this whole idea of giving you steps. This will go in, as you can see, when you go to the Future Proof, HollywoodGatekeepers.net Future Proof, you will see we're going to build on this so that it's all in one place as a whole training. So starting to get very intentional about things we're doing around here. So fancy. So really great to see you guys. We will be back. Same earlier channel. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week. I'm going to go fix that handout now before my coaching session. We'll talk to you soon. Bye. Bye.